Sponsored by White Mountain Fire and Life Safety. Today on the show we have Chief Joe Shelley and Maria Garvin, both with the Show Loaf Police Department. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, I called you on the show because I wanted to talk about sex trafficking. You guys know a lot about it, and I want to know, how did that start? How did you get involved with this topic?
Well, I think I'll go first because that's where it all started for me. I was down in Mesa. I was working for Mesa, and we received some information from a citizen whether or not we knew anything about sex trafficking, and I didn't have any clue what this lady was talking about. Her name was Nancy Baldwin. She's the executive director for the Hickey Foundation. And I'll wrap all this up together in a second, but she brought this to our attention and said, you guys don't know anything about this. This is a major issue. And I told her, you're absolutely right. So we met for lunch, and she's telling me all this information about this sex trafficking. And for 26 years in my career, I always thought that prostitution and things like that were just because that's what they wanted to do. This was a victimless, quote-unquote, victimless crime. And come to find out, you quickly find out that the people that are involved in prostitution, about 65 to 75% of them were trafficked when they were younger, and they got into this lifestyle and they could never get out. So you have a 14, 15, 16-year-old, and for 7 to 10 years, that's all they did was this. And their mindset is this, and they are indoctrinated of hating public safety. They do not like the police. They do not like going home to their mothers and fathers and things like that. So they break away from all reality, and they basically, this is their life. They have no other skills. They don't have a GED. They don't have a high school education, college education. They don't have any other skills in any other, like skill set, like working for Intel or anything like that. So you're wondering, why do they keep doing what they're doing? Well, they're almost forced into it. And in many cases, they are. So when I heard about this, I started learning more about it and finding out that these cases are real, and they happen all the time, and they happen everywhere. It's not just in the Phoenix metro area or other states or other countries. They happen everywhere in small towns just like ours. So that really brought me to Sholo a couple years ago, and I started talking to Maria about this, and I said, do you know anything about this? And she says, no. And after showing her some information, she took off from there.
What did you think when you first heard it?
Honestly, I grew up here, so I thought this is a small community. Everybody's friends with everybody. It would never happen up here. It happens down in the valley. You never hear of stuff like that until we had a call a couple years ago of a situation that possibly could have led up to that, with somebody making contact from a state far away, trying to make contact with a female here. And in that instant, you realize it's knocking on our back door. It's something that kids need to be aware of, parents need to be aware of, teachers. We need to try to get the information out there, I think, so that people know what to look for is a big thing. I don't think people realize how much sex trafficking there is.
And if they don't know, if you don't have that knowledge is power. They're powerless against this because they don't know.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And it's changed, it sounds like it's changed your outlook of the community, and it's changed your outlook of prostitution.
Well, it wasn't just prostitution. It's a lot of different ways of handling calls for service. And when you go to a call, you're looking for indicators now, and I wasn't looking for those. So to change our culture, the police department's culture, fire department's culture, again, the public's culture on these kind of crimes or the things that are going on out there, and you're looking for these indicators now, that just raises the awareness level for all of us as first responders, as people working in public safety, as well as the emergency care services, hospitals, urgent care facilities, things like that, to look for these indicators and ask those questions. And then we can follow up with that. It's set the ball rolling in the right way, that's for sure.
And have you been able to help other agencies outside of here in any of those, or I guess, when I think of this, let's back up a little. When I think of this, I think of those pictures in Walmart missing, those kids. I mean, if you're changing and you're looking at it like this kid could be somebody's that they don't have anymore, that they're missing from it. You had talked about before this 2 girls that it was really it surprised you that it was easy for them to get trafficked. It was less easier for them to get acquainted with their family and stuff like that. Do you want to speak on that a little bit?
Sure, just real quick on that is one of the first cases I got into with Phoenix Police Department. Their vice unit was out with a couple of people, and we were working with them, and again, trying to gain understanding what this was all about. And at the time, they were 16, 17-year-olds. And when I first got into it, I was asking, there was typical 16, 17-year-olds, but they said they were 21, 22. You could tell that they weren't that old. And just there's certain things about a person's body, they're just not developed. Their hands, their feet, some parts of their face do not develop, for the most part, on kids. And you look at a 22-year-old, you could obviously tell they're a little bit older. So when we were there, very, very angry with the police department, wouldn't talk to us, wouldn't say anything to anybody regarding questions, a lot of profanity from this young girl. And finally, after about 45 minutes to an hour, she gave her first name, and then she gave her last name. And when they checked that, they found out that she's been missing for over 3 years. So in 3 years' time, and I'll fast forward, the other girl that was with her, was reported with her, was also missing at that time, and she was just denying it was her, and finally she admitted it was her. So we fast forward through that entire investigation, trying to get her back to her family. Sometimes it's very, very hard. A hard conservative family, very religious family, put the blame on her, which made it very difficult for us to find shelter for her, medical, psychological, social, everything else that we have to bring to the table to help this young girl out, or these two young girls out. Found out that they were actually trafficked. They were actually befriended by a young man that came through and said, hey, I'm a college student. I'm just going to go down for the day, down to the valley or wherever they were at, and say, we're just going to go shopping for the day, and I'll get you back. But by the time they went through another little town, he'd basically put something in their drinks, and from that point on, they were a victim that night. In fact, that night, they were passed around to 6 to 7 men for the first night. Alcohol, drugs were also involved, videotaping of what was going on. And then they used that, the coercion portion of it, to basically say, you can never go back. So the shameness that those girls had, 13, 14-year-old girls had, from a very, very nice middle-class family to this, of course, that's what changed their lives. And they were trafficked out of Phoenix, up to Las Vegas, Vegas over to Florida, Florida up to New Jersey, and then back in the next couple of years, went to the West Coast, finally made it back to Phoenix, and that's where they were intercepted. But they were intercepted, this is the third person that had, quote unquote, bought them. So they were trafficked within 3 different people at that time. So those kind of things happen. And it's not just in, like I said, the metro area, it happens all over.
Now, when you guys do your talk to people, what's the feedback from when you tell people this? Nope, are they, the first time you said, nope, not here, are they still doing that?
I think I've invited quite a few friends of mine to come that work at the hospital, that are involved with different churches, with the schools, and I think they walk away in awe that so much of the information we give out is accurate, and they can see it happening here. Social media, they see how parents don't know what their kids are doing or who they're talking to, stuff like that. We should all be aware. Even things that we see day to day, you might not think are important, but they are.
And you're right, parents aren't involved nearly as much as they should be in their children's life. I mean, I try to think I'm very involved, but there's times where I've, especially talking to Audrey about situations like this, the things that she knows already at 7 that are completely wrong, but that she knows, I'm just like, I'm not involved enough. How did she find, or how did she think that? Or a quick thing was, we talked about sex. Audrey, do you know what sex is? Yes, something hot girls do. And I'm like, bitch, I don't want you to think that.
Yeah.
Why do you think that? You're 7. Well, movies, songs, you name it. And I can't stop from what cartoons, I mean, cartoons aren't even for kids anymore. They're really for adults, and we try to monitor her internet, and she doesn't have Facebook. She's not allowed to have. She doesn't have a cell phone, but she's monitoring her internet uses. There's an iPad that she can use sometimes, but when you're not there, what are they getting into, or who is contacting them?
Exactly.
And that's the scariest thing. So in this PowerPoint presentation, you guys go into depth more about what sex trafficking is and how it happens and who it affects.
Correct.
And it affects, like you had said, it affects the family, but some of the times you said the family doesn't, they're just like, that's her problem. She did it on her own. But you're the proof, she didn't.
Yeah, she didn't. And the other thing was there was the other young girl that wasn't as outgoing but was tagging along. So that's what we'd say the awareness campaign is really what this is all about. It's not to scare anybody out there to tell them, you know, this stuff is going to happen to your family tomorrow. But what we're saying is be more involved with the kids. Find out what's going on their Facebook account, their email accounts, because they're not just doing it with their own equipment. They're doing it with their friends' equipment. So you got to also understand that you're trying to get with their parents. Who are they hanging around with? Go find out if they're doing the same thing and find out if their parents are as involved. And if they're not, maybe make them aware of what's going on, because that's how this all started for those two girls, is that one talked the other one into going. And she wasn't going to go unless the other one went. So there you go. And they went as friends. But I think the first part where you said, you know, the parents and the family and the friends, the police departments and everybody else looking for these two at the very beginning, that's a huge, huge endeavor. And talk about cost, it's amazing. But you know what? All across the United States, we see that happening all the time. I'm not talking about the normal, you know, the kids running away from home and they're upset with mom and dad and they get away for a little bit and then they come back home, or they go over to someone's house, you call over and there they are. We're talking the ones that go missing and then they are gone. And it's the ones that just scare the heck out of you. Those are the ones that, you know, those are the ones that are going to last a long time. And I think Maria has some statistics for the ones in Arizona, that's for sure, that are still outstanding. They're still missing in Arizona. So
I'd be interested to.
Right now, there is actively 111 that are missing in Arizona. And that's
Kids.
from, yeah. What we were,
Did they have the ages?
no,
Or-
well, I looked back and it was from 1995 to
That's
now.
nobody's found.
Nobody's
Whether it's
found.
a body or or out
And that's
there.
the sad thing. It's somebody's son, daughter, niece,
But
nephew,
their life has been
neighbor,
destroyed.
and their family, the community. It affects everybody.
and the family has been destroyed. I mean, the family is really going through just torture. And it really is. So when you start dealing with families like that, you get to realize, you know what, this does affect a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So when you're dealing with the prostitutes out there, this is the eye-opener for me, that they were someone's family. They were someone's daughter, niece, a nephew, a young man, whatever it was. And then you find out this is what they're doing. And then you find out that that's really not their name that they've been using. They've changed their name 3 or 4 times, but what is their real name? And then you find they're still missing from 20 years old. Or excuse me, 20 years ago, they were missing. And now all of a sudden we find them and get them reunited with their family. So it's amazing stories that you get to hear. And you know what, if we can just get one, it's a huge, huge win for us. If we can prevent others because parents get involved, that's just unbelievable.
They just
So that's
saved
what we
their
wanna do.
children's lives or
Exactly.
a friend's life. I mean, if that little girl would have
Exactly.
said, no, this isn't right, and told her mom, hey, so-and-so, she's going to do this and meet this guy, I don't know this guy, I mean, that could have changed their whole situation. And they would
Absolutely.
have still been able to be girls and go to school. I mean, because these women, they missed high school.
Whole thing.
The whole thing. Ah, that breaks my heart. Now, one of the things that's kind of scary that you had talked about previously is it's not just men going after these children.
That's correct. You know, a lot of times, you know, people, and quite honestly, the problem is men. I go back on that and say, we're the issue, because 97% or 98% of all the customers out there are men, and it's usually men on younger women, younger girls, I should say, not women, but younger girls. And that goes from the sex trade stuff that's going on out there to the nude bars that people would attend. Oh yeah, because the
never
people
heard of those.
inside there, remember the girls that are working inside there, some of them start off very, very naive. They have no clue what they're doing. They might be very pretty, so someone got them into it. Next thing you know, they're doing drugs and alcohol, and then the next step for them is prostitution out the back door. That is just a normal step for some of these places, you know, the businesses down in the valley and throughout the United States, throughout the world. But the idea for them to get involved in that stuff, like I said, they're looking to belong. They're looking for something. Some of them say it's a legitimate business. And I can understand that they would say that, but quite honestly, it's the men that are perpetuating this crime. The bad part is, though, is the men that are running these things, that are running these girls, have a female that's actually running the group of girls or the girls. And that female goes out and actually gets younger people involved. They'll get young females and males, and they'll get them trafficked. They'll get them right into that little seam. And as easy as it was, and I was involved in a case a while back down in Mesa where the girl said I could go get some people from a local mall, and it says I can get them in 15 minutes. I can get 4 or 5 people. Didn't believe them? Sure enough, they did. And that is a scary, scary thing. So if your kids are going to malls, find out who they're hanging out with and things like that. See if anybody talked to them while they were there. But those are just things, that normal things that we need to get involved with. And as parents, we need to step up our game. We really do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
I know that they had on the social media, they had a guy who was he talked to the parents first, and he'd go out there. And I think I listened to your guys' podcast, but he'd go out there and the parents would be like, no, not my kid, not my kid, not my kid, not my kid. How do you know not your kid if you're not talking to your kid? How do you know not your kid if you're not involved with your kid's life?
And that's true.
You know, I would love to say not my kid, but my kid is 7 years old, and it's very difficult for me to have these conversations with her. All she knows is stranger danger, and if mom and daddy don't know their parents, then you can't play with them. And that's all she knows right now at this age. I mean, we'll get talking a little bit more, but it was amazing. Every single parent in that video didn't think that their child would do this, and every single child did. What did you think of the video? Was it an eye-opening too, or?
I did. When I first saw it, it's very powerful. It shows parents see one side and don't really see what kids do when they're not with them. And giving them home addresses, telling them to come pick them up at a park, my parents are gone, anything like that. You're opening up strangers to come into your life, and that's a scary thing. Takes a second. I mean, it really does. And that's why I think the biggest issue is we need to let people know. And another thing is, if you see something, to say something. Call us. Let us know. We try so hard to get out there and let people see us. Officers all over the place. It takes a second just to have them swing by, check something out, make sure it's okay. And then it's worth it. It really is.
And that brings up a situation at Walmart. Can we talk a little bit about that locally? What happened?
Yeah, you know, and it could happen anywhere.
Yeah.
It's not unique to a Walmart or any other store that's out there. We just see something, say something, where a young girl was mouthing, "I need help, I need help," and no one really did anything right at that point. I mean, several people walked right by her, but no one took any steps to call the police department until the following day. And to us, like I said before, if something doesn't look right, just give us a call. If something doesn't feel right, like it's your house. Let's say you heard something outside. Give us a call. We'd more than happy come out and take a look at what's going on and find out whether it's legit or not. And if it's not, then we can hopefully stem something from happening, be a lot worse in their lives. So in this case, you know, we were hoping to get a call. Now we're playing catch up on it. We never found what that whole thing was about, because the cameras were in a bad angle and the direction that they left, we couldn't tell what they left in. So for us, you know, that's something that really bothers us. Yeah, it's a tough thing to do, because as police officers, we want to protect and help out anybody and everybody. And when we hear it's a young girl or a young boy that needs our help and we didn't do anything about it, as a society, we need to step up, and our community needs to do that. And I think, speaking of Walmart and Kmart and the rest of them, all around us in our area, they do a phenomenal job of calling us and getting involved. But I think this is just one of those things that makes us more aware that these kind of things should never be taken lightly, and always just give us a call. Give the police department a call. If there's a firefighter walking by, stop them and let them know. Again, anybody in public safety, anybody in this field, give us a holler. We'll come out and take a look what's going on.
Well, what's the worst case scenario there? The worst case scenario is the child was being trafficked. The best case scenario was you had a cop go up and the guy goes, "No, this is my daughter. She's being a little brat."
Right.
You know, but at least you know without a doubt that child is okay.
That's exactly it.
And you don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, because of what happened, there's no idea where that girl is.
That's correct.
Yeah, and that is a tough thing to swallow. And you're right, as a society, cops can't be everywhere.
Yeah.
And our police, our military, our firefighters, our NCSO, I mean, it's not like you're every single place. There's no way. It's our responsibility to help you do your job, just like it's your responsibility to help us stay safe. You know, it's a partnership.
That's it. That's exactly. You hit it on the head. It's our community. Collectively, it's our community. So we need to make it safe. And so with everybody's help pitching in there, we'll make sure that and when we get involved, hopefully it's the right time, the right place. But again, it is the community. And we're all part of our community. Almost all of us live inside the city limits of Show Low. Some of us live in other jurisdictions just around Show Low, but this is, the White Mountains is our community. So I agree with you 100% that we do need to get involved, and without the community's involvement, without the police involvement in the community, when they work together, it's phenomenal. Great success stories, one right after the other. But when they don't, and there's a disconnect between the two, then that's where we have the issues that come up. And so that's why I keep going out and out more and more was see something, say something. We'd love to come out and say hi. We would.
Now, and where are you guys offering these talks? You've done them at a certain, the PowerPoint presentation, everything. Where have you offered them so far?
We've been
Churches,
a
all the
couple,
other churches.
yeah, churches in the area, but we would love to come anywhere and talk about it. We just want to make sure the information gets out there. And
Okay, now with these talks, are you're letting people aware of what's going on, but are you also giving them ways to possibly talk to their children, or what are some things that they can take from us right now that might help them to have that conversation with their child about this, or what do they need to look for to make sure that they can help keep their child safe?
well, we do have a couple websites.
Okay.
A lot of the information that I got, Chief Shelley showed me the correct way to kind of get in there and get involved, so that a lot of it you just have to read, you have to take away from it. And we hand out pamphlets, we talk a lot about different things, we do a question and answer. Some kids even have came to the class and I think they've walked away learning stuff.
And hopefully tell their friends.
And that's the big point, because by just us being here with you, then you're going to go say something to somebody else, and then that's how we get calls about, hey, can you come and do this class? And we've had great turnouts at them. So
Through the last one, we had almost 100 people at the church over in Pine Top, which was a great event, and we had a lot of people there asking questions. You know, how does this happen? How do we get this word out to everybody else? Well, some of the websites, and we'll give those to you in just a little bit, but the websites have a phenomenal amount of information, and it's very easy to follow. But the one thing you can do with your kids, without looking at anything else, is sit down and just talk to them. Ask them about their websites. Ask them what they're doing. If they're on Facebook or any social media, ask them what they're doing. Because we had a 13-year-old that was in one of the classes that we put on, and she said, do you think every 13-year-old should have a phone? And I said, I'm not sure. I don't know. I can't answer that, because there's some 13-year-olds that are very mature and some that aren't. But I said the one thing that I would caution her or have her do, and the parents there, is saying this: I will provide you a phone or a computer to do their homework and things like that, as long as I have full access to the passwords and everything else that you have on that computer or phone. If you can do that and work it as a contract type of thing, build up that trust to see what they're doing and be involved in that, and check it nightly to find out those little things, just to see how their day was, and then pull up that stuff just every night or every other night, whatever it takes. It's amazing what you'll find out about your children and what they're looking at and what they're into. I mean, on the good side of it, they're into sciences and everything else.
Yeah,
on the bad side of it, hopefully we're not on that side, but that's the idea behind it, is that they're doing stuff on a positive way. And just get involved. I mean, like I said, see something, say something, and if it doesn't look right on that computer, someone's trying to get a hold of them, starting to talk to them about this, like the incident that happened from out of state. Someone was out there on social media websites trying to surf and find someone. They found somebody, and here they are conversing back and forth to the point where they were going to take this young lady out of state. So those things could have been prevented had they had a little bit more adult supervision, adult involvement. And we're not saying that, you know, we're all perfect. We're not. But that's why I said you have a group of people helping you out with this. Police department, we're all here to help out as well.
Yeah. And it's not an easy thing. You have to take time to do it, but it's worth it. It's your child's life.
Absolutely.
And social media, that's the main way they get a hold of these children nowadays.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
well, if you think about it, if you ever walk out of a store, watch how many teenagers don't even look up when they walk across the parking lot anymore.
Oh, you're right.
Nobody sits down and has conversations. It's texting, it's gotta Twitter, gotta do Facebook, gotta post, everything is social media.
Yeah, that's scary, because it's a whole nother world. And like you said, it could be somebody from way out of state. It could be somebody from another country, who knows,
Right.
that has access to your child now.
Or it could be someone in our community.
Yeah, that's
So.
true. And if we don't start protecting our community along with our police officers and our firefighters and our military, then we're not going to have, too many things will fall through the crack.
True.
Which is sad. So the other thing that we're going to, you guys are going to probably present at the Naked Mobile Keeping Kids Safe tour too. So hopefully we can get information out there, and we'll start promoting that in a couple weeks so that people will know where it's going to be at. Any last things that you guys want to say before we wrap up here?
I just have those websites if you are interested in getting them
Please.
out. There's a couple good ones. We find a lot of information and use aztrust.org.
Okay.
And then there's Shared Hope International. It is at sharedhope.org. And then the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children are missingkids.org.
Yes, that
Lots of
breaks my heart.
information.
Yeah, and then you think about missing kids. I have 2 small ones, and I would never want to put them in that situation.
That's true. And aztrust.org is probably the best one to go to because it branches off to all the rest of them. But there's a lot of information on AZ Trust. It's aztrust.org. Pull it up, and like I said, if you're going to come to the seminar, pull up the information beforehand. Have a bunch of questions ready for us. We'll be happy to answer them.
And I've seen the seminar on the podcast or listened to the seminar, and I know it was really good, and your PowerPoints were a part of that. And so I appreciate it. I actually sent it down to several friends down in the Valley who were very impressed by it. So it's a lot of information, and it's a lot of good information. So I appreciate the fact that you guys are taking the initiative to help our community and bridge our community with the police and with their own children. So thank you. And thank you for watching Safe and Sound, and we'll see you next month.